Welcome to this 2-hour workshop on the Creator AVR, one of our suite of solutions inside our AVR platform that was alluded to yesterday. First and foremost, like I said, if you guys have not downloaded, it's fine. We can still do the downloading later. It's going to be an interactive session, not just about the theory, but also some practical steps on how you can use the app to consume AR and VR, but also how to create new lessons from those assets in the app. Okay, so let's start. I'm going to show you a video first that our marketing team did about 4 or 5 years ago. And the reason I'm showing this is because it's to illustrate that in that 3-4 years, 90% of what's happening there can already be done now with the app. So I want to show you what's possible in education with AR and VR, and then a short video about what's possible and what we've already done for industry. Okay, so you get a good context before I start.
Imagine a giant lava ball that's been flying for billions of years through space, where it is so cold that its outer layers froze to stone. But the core remained as hot as the surface of the sun. That is our planet, Earth. Can anybody tell me how old our planet is?
The ability for students to come in remotely is already possible now.
5 billion years old, so
That's right.
The ability for students remotely to collaborate together on AR and VR, that's already possible now.
Hello, Malachi.
Hi, Professor.
Let me take a look.
The ability for
4-cylinder engine.
on-site contextual learning with an expert coming in is also possible
Try
now.
connecting the spark plugs in that order.
Thanks, Professor.
And most importantly, the ability for any educator or lecturer in their own office to create AR and VR lessons easily within minutes
In order to survive,
is also possible.
consume oxygen.
And for that, students then to receive AR and VR lesson at home before they come into class.
Hello and welcome to this new anatomy lesson of the heart. The coronary blood vessels that you can see here, blue for veins and red for arteries, are part of the systemic blood flow. And that's precisely what makes our heart beat.
And access to the thousands of libraries that we already have is also already there. In 20 years of doing this business, Eon Reality has created many assets. We are curating them to come into the app so that it can be used by educators and lecturers. Right now, there's about 1,400 plus assets in several subjects. Next, I'm going to show you what's possible or what's already been done in industry in many parts of the world that we have done together with different verticals. Okay, technology is good when it's working, huh? Okay, but now it's coming. So this is the industry part. Again, a marketing video, but still, we have done this.
Okay, we're at the building. We're going in. Oh, we're getting a heat signature from the first floor.
Yeah, got it.
We found someone.
We've got a flashover at level 3, guys. Evacuate immediately to rally point.
We've worked with SETS, we've worked with SBS Transit in Singapore, and
This
many
is the
others.
meeting room, and this is the lobby, which is over there.
And we've also worked with many interior design companies and architects to actually do this kind of scenario planning before it becomes a turnkey solution.
Hey Sam, do you think we can have these 3 outlets done by tomorrow?
And the ability to go into any space and raise virtual artifacts for people to interact and talk to their supervisor is also already done. We did this with a pharmaceutical company in Singapore also. And definitely in all our guests, there's a lot of things that we've done with them. In relation with IoT, getting data from the world around us, the sensors,
Asu,
feeding them
can you
into
please
the
run a quick
system,
inspection of
and then
check
showing
one for me?
a
I'm getting
visualization
some
like
inconsistent
this.
readings over here.
Let me have a look. I can see an open bulb there.
All right, that's great. Thanks.
In fact, one particular scenario that I would like to share is that we've done a huge job with APB, the Asia Pacific Brewery, where they have done a very successful pilot in terms of helping their workers understand and manage the different processes that they have. They are producing 35 different brands in one line. The ability for them to have contextual information on the spot and understanding it and knowing what to do and how to solve it save them a lot of time, between half to 1 hour in one production line. So those are things that's possible, guys. But beyond what's possible, I just want to also start right now. Enough. Okay, I'm just letting you know that I've been in this industry for 20 years, both on the educator side and also in the industry side. I've been in NTU actually when they started their technology-enabled learning, so I know some of you guys. But the key is that I understand the pains of an educator teaching myself, but I also know what the constraints are sometimes from industry and work. But enough about me. This, okay. Very slow, bro. I think I just, okay. At the end of this session, guys, 2-hour session, this is a truncated version of our normal 4-hour workshop because we don't have the time. But basically the idea is at the end of this, you guys can describe the reasons why AVR is needed. I know you guys have listened to some sessions yesterday. I would just like to reiterate some point and give some examples. Second, to be able to navigate and experience the Creator AVR app and lesson, be able to consume it in augmented reality, virtual reality, and 3D touch mode. And also the third thing is to be able to create an AVR lesson. Because the app is free, you guys can download it after, obviously you already download it, but you can use it after this session. The library will be limited, but you can do whatever that I do here. You can explore and play around and actually create a lesson to be used already. Last but not least, we're just going to outline some pedagogical models that can be appropriate together with the Creator AVR app. Okay, so that's the purpose of this 2-hour session. Help me click. There's a bit of lag. So firstly, why AVR? Next. Obviously, some people touched upon this. I just like to iterate, especially for some that may have not come yesterday. Next. This, I like to use this slide even when I was in NTU. And when I was teaching before a while back, a lot of my, or even when I was a student, and even when we were students, a lot of us would sit down, just listen, and keep quiet and ask when we were asked to ask. But the reality of students nowadays is slightly different. Next. I would like you guys now to just go to their website on your phone and just type in what you think are the characteristics of learners today. It can be more than those things. Just go to the website, either click the QR code or just click on go to the URL and give me your thoughts. Just type in what you think. It doesn't have to be those things there. You can choose those things there, but you can also add other things. I would like to see what your thoughts are in this regard. I know some of you saw this slide yesterday from Dan, but also maybe I'm testing you on your recap. Huh? Beyond reality stuff, this helps if they can't go into the link and all that. So do you think they are resilient? Do you think they are social learners? They like to work in teams and collaborate? Do they enjoy lectures, sitting down and listening to lectures? Do they access content only in school? Are they multitaskers? And do they have short or long attention span? You can even discuss with your neighbors if you want. I'll flash the results soon. You can just type whatever you want, okay? Is there a battery issue? Can you go to the website? I'm going to show the result now as it's coming in. It's okay if you guys have not answered, don't worry. It's just a quick one. Let's see what you guys think. Okay. So this is not just your result. It's coming in from the various training that I've done. But obviously, social learners, short attention span or short attention span, multitaskers are the three main things that keeps coming up everywhere I do this in the world. Okay, you guys notice this, right? They seem to be liking to work in teams, and that's why pedagogies like team-based learning here in NTU, problem-based learning in others are getting more and more popular. And that's why the idea of collaborative classroom is coming to the fore right now. Second, of course, is the issue of multitaskers. They tend to do things at one time in many ways. They'll be listening to music, studying, and the student listening to you. Eating also, yes. Very good, Alinda. You notice that. Huh? Sometimes they eat too. And sometimes when you are teaching them, they will be Googling and then also asking you at the same time. You'll be talking and very confidently talking about something and, sure, that's wrong. Huh? What do you mean? Okay. So I've always advised lecturers to then don't panic. Just say, so what? Where do you find the information? Can you share with us what you found? That's the idea of us being a facilitator and curator of learning, because the knowledge doesn't reside in our head anymore. It's everywhere, right? But there's good and bad information, obviously. And of course, the short attention span part of it, there was a research done by Microsoft, but I think you need to take it with a pinch of salt. But nonetheless, it's quite revealing. It says that the learners of today have shorter attention span than a goldfish. What do you think is the attention span of a goldfish? Same as a chicken. Okay, that's a good answer. What else? How many seconds? Anybody have a guess? 8 seconds? That's quite accurate. In fact, they're saying that the students nowadays are even shorter than that, about 5 to 6, right? But again, we need to take it with a pinch of salt. But nonetheless, you can observe it in your classes right now, right? The ability, or even for yourself. Right now, most of you, do you wait for the cursor to turn before you go to another website? You don't, right? It used to be about 10 years ago or 15 years ago when the internet just came, we would be patiently waiting for it. Now I'll just go to the next one. What more our students? So that's where it's imperative that even in lectures like this, try to break it up with activities like what I just did, so that you can get them to work together and discuss. All right? I know it's a Friday morning today with raining, so you guys maybe have not warmed up, but that's essentially what I try to do even in a lecture theater. Try to break that 45-minute lecture into bouts of 10 minutes with interactivity. Okay? So that's correct, what you guys are doing. Can we go back to the PowerPoint slide? And research have also borne this out further. Oh, I can't. It's not the battery, something else. Okay, let's go next. So this is research done by McKinsey from Australia. They update this every year. The latest finding that they found, obviously in terms of Gen N and Gen Z, is that rather than sitting and listening, if you look at the top there, they want to try and see. Instead of being learning just verbally, they do want to see visual more. And instead of being just a teacher, we need to be facilitators of learning. And if you're wondering what Generation Alpha is, that's the kids growing up, our kids now growing up in the primary school. They've run out of alphabet, so they went to Alpha. It will be Beta next, I guess. But more importantly is the slide that Dan also showed yesterday. You realize that even in terms of the leader, a leader that they want to be and also a learning style, it's more of being a collaborator and co-creator now. They want to co-create content. That's why, again, the phenomenon of student-created syllabuses, phenomenon-based learning that you hear yesterday, is the idea to give more autonomy to students to decide what they want to learn. In many K-12 schools, even in Malaysia and Singapore, where I've been to, where that whole week, people are not looking at a particular subject or topic. They give a very broad topic for the week, maybe ethics, and in every subject, they'll be touching upon that. And that's where then the students can decide what they want to learn based on that big topic. Right? The other thing that is also very interesting is this multimodal and virtual that is coming to the fore for this learning. Multimodal is the name of the game right now. They can look at content in video, animation, and now, of course, AR and VR coming in. Of course, we also need to be aware of the cognitive load on the brain, but that's where good learning design will come in. Next. The second thing, of course, is the shift in the classroom and learning environment. That is the connections that the teacher and the facilitator have right now to the rest of the world. It used to be that as a teacher, you only have to make connections to the 25 or 40 students in the classroom. But right now, each of those nodes or the students are connecting to millions others through the internet. And we need to be aware of it, not to be scared of it, to leverage on it, right? And we can no longer be a teacher, we need to be a facilitator and a curator. Most importantly, educators need to let go. You don't have to be afraid of letting go. It's okay that you don't know everything that your student knows. And it's okay the student that, and most often than not, the student sometimes will know more than you in certain areas. But it's okay. But you are the professional and teacher, you facilitate that discussion and you bring it together. Okay, so that's the reality of the learning environment now. The second thing, of course, is that while some technology has changed from the chalk to the wireless presenter, but the teaching is still very didactic. That's why I would encourage you, even in your lecture theater, with simple tools like learner response system, some of the apps that were shared yesterday, and even with this Creator AVR app, you can change things in the class to be a bit more interactive and engaging. We cannot just be talking about active learning, learner-centered, and we're still doing didactic. Nothing's going to change. All right, we need to take that leap. We can't change the whole curriculum, but aspects of it can be changed. And I've seen many lecturers when I was in NTU here changing that easily. For example, one lecturer in 600 lecture theater using the learner response system. When he asks the question, everybody answers, but he doesn't just stop there. He will ask, now find somebody who disagrees with you and convince them that you're right. And the whole lecture theater becomes noisy in the discussion. That's the kind of pedagogical tricks and tips that you need to change the way people learn, and not just use the tools. Even with AR and VR, it's not the be-all and all. You need to be clever about the pedagogical tricks and tips. Of course, in NTU and in many places, it has gone into Classroom 2.0, where we talk about flipped classroom. I think a lot of people shared yesterday, MOOCs, blended learning, and so on. In fact, we created a few Coursera courses with a few professors here when I was here. But we are arguing now, what if, for example, you can bring experiential and immersive learning into the classroom and the tutorials easily? Would that level it up to 3.0? That's what I'm asking, and that's what we are arguing. That if you bring immersive and experiential learning, using tools like the Creator AVR app or some other apps that you saw yesterday, we will be able to level it up further. So that's the second reality. Learning environment, classroom also has changed. Third, of course, is the new norm outside. You saw this slide yesterday. I think you need to help, bro. Sorry. This is yours, right? The fact that the world right now is volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. The reality is that when I was employing graduates coming into the industry, you realize that just from the interview, some of them are very good academically, but they can't really problem solve. They can't critically think. They can't even communicate and articulate well. And these are skills that we know is needed right now in the new world. It's not about just understanding the content. It's about how do you learn new content? How do you learn to learn? Because at the end of the day, rapid change is the only concern in this new norm. It's not change is the only concern. Rapid change is the only concern. And that's the reality. And we as educators need to produce students who can think on their feet, problem solve, communicate with others, defend, learn how to find new information from digital, and be comfortable with technology like AI, IoT, AR and VR, because it's happening everywhere. With our involvement in the industry for 20 years, we saw so many industries, simple things like, for example, the recent one that we went to APB in Tuas, okay, the Asia Pacific Brewery. Every single line in their main line when they are producing the beers, which I can't drink, but it's okay. But I drank the 0% beer though. It was very nice. You should try it. Any Muslims here, you can try the 0% beer. It's very nice actually. But I don't know how close it is to the actual beer, but it tastes nice. But the amazing thing is that whole few different lines producing 30 different brands every hour is all controlled by machines. All, not just one. And it's the ability for your student to manage these machines. The ability for them to learn how to use different technology to manage will be more important than being now just doing the steps. They need to be able to create new steps. That's the reality of the new norm. And if you look at a report by McKinsey, more than between 400 to 800 million people worldwide will be displaced if they don't change their skills. There are new jobs coming in, but requires new skills. We've been talking about these 21st century skills for a while, but now it's coming to a head. If we don't do it, our students are not going to be able to fulfill the jobs needed. And a lot of companies, like Eon or the big ones like Google and all, they have to do a lot of retraining, and there's a lot of costs. So we need to start producing no longer automatons. We need to produce thinkers. So that's the third reality. And I know there are challenges. I've been in the education business. I've been teaching for a while. I know there are issues, right? One of the issues, of course, next, is the quantity problem, right? In Singapore, they say, teach less, learn more, right? Every time we have a new MOE minister, we have a new tagline. It's good, it's good. I'm not being cynical. I think it's good. But on the reality on the ground, I have so many friends who are teachers and lecturers. On the ground, it's usually teach more with less. Because firstly, there is a shortage of skilled teachers. Maybe not so much in Singapore, but in terms of budget, there's also budget cuts right now. In Singapore, the budget for every single university this year has been cut. You know why? Because the student population has gone down. It's a reality. I know some of my colleagues, former colleagues in CITS, their budget is cut 50%. That's a huge number, and it's happening all over the world. So we need to find new ways and new technology to be able to leverage and scale up so that the teachers can focus on doing what they do best, which is teaching and facilitating. The second thing, of course, is the quality problem. Like I mentioned just now, memorization of facts is no longer enough. That's the other part. We need to have learning methods that teach creativity, cooperation, critical thinking, and so on. And it's a combination of pedagogy, good pedagogy, but also using the right technology at the right time. It's not just using technology for technology's sake, I agree. But on the other hand, if you only rely on pedagogy and your own strength, it's not going to be scalable. We've seen that in many examples around the world. When I was in NTU and I was teaching somewhere else, choosing the right technology, understanding its affordances, and using it at the right time will help. But if you're just using it for the sake of using, because AI and VR is the latest fad, I need to use it, I don't care where I use it, I will transform everything, it will not work. And the worst thing that comes out of it is that at the end of the day, people will blame the technology. But it's not the technology. Technology amplifies bad teaching, though. It amplifies bad pedagogy. If you are face-to-face and doing your stuff, when you do lesson planning, right, you can adjust because you're there. Especially with technology, especially you're going for blended learning and all that, you are not there. Bad learning design will amplify it. And even with AR and VR. EduCourse came out with a paper recently. You can download the EduCourse. There's 5 papers that they talk about AR and VR. One of the conclusions that they made was the post and pre-immersive learning activity is more important than the learning activity itself. So it's again about the learning design. I will share a little bit about, when we go to the end, I will share a little bit about one particular approach you can use in using the app, similar apps like ours, in order to enhance learning and teaching. Okay, I don't want to belabor the point, but this is just to show that we need to bring students from this kind of cognitive processes to here, because that's where the jobs are. The machines will take over this part. It's already happening in every single industry. In fact, you can even download a LinkedIn report in December 2017 that highlights the kind of job that is gone. I will encourage you to download. Just look for LinkedIn digital skills in the industry. You will realize that it's gone. We argue that if you use AR and VR, it will help. Second last issue is attention problem that we talked about just now. We need to engage them in new ways. If not, you'll get this kind of reaction everywhere. Responses. So with all that, the why and the challenges, so what do we do as educators? What can we do as educators? We need to go back to learning in 3D. That's how we learn as babies. But then people will say, Ridwan, then let's learn in the real world. And yes, correct. The real world is still the most immersive learning environment here ever. But you know what? There are limitations in the real world. You can't scale up most of the time. Logistically, it's a nightmare. ITE in the East, every single semester, teaching their students in petrochemical engineering. They bring 20 students into the oil rigs, and the rest of the 300 cohorts stay in the classrooms. The 20 then comes back to share. It's not an equal learning experience. But they can't bring all 300. It's just too costly and too dangerous. Logistically, it's also quite difficult. So the physical world, there are some limitations. You can't scale up. You can't create hazardous situations because it's dangerous to the student. For example, one example that we have about the eye. I think some of you went to our IDC. You saw that we created a so-called simulation of the eye in terms of eye diseases and all that. And also the heart. We created one module on allowing junior surgeons in the National Healthcare Group to actually diagnose heart problems before they go to the real thing. There's no way you can add diseases to the real. It'll be a rare occasion when you can get these diseases. That's why oftentimes in NUH, you will see suddenly a group of young doctors coming in when there's a unique problem. Not only is that quite hard for the patient, but it's also quite rare to get that kind of situation. But in AR and VR, you can create those situations and ensure that you get maximum learning. So that's what AR and VR can bring and enhance over the real world. And last but not least, of course, is that books are good for containing information, yes. But in order to understand these kind of things, and usually these are threshold concepts that Peter talked about, where there are always concepts in certain topics or certain fields where if you understand it, you understand everything else about it. An example would be gravity. Understanding gravity will actually allow you to understand planetary system, orbitals. But in a lot of cases, in some topics, those are the very thing that is difficult to understand. And that's why I think AR and VR can play a part to focus on creating those kind of 3D environments for students to understand it visually. For example, like molecular structures and so on. And a few different theories there. I don't want to belabor the point, but you guys will get this slide. But this proves that from situated cognition, or yesterday Mark was talking, Mark Bauer, right? Matt Bauer, he was talking about situated scaffolding. To me, that's very important. Learning sometimes takes place well in the very place where the knowledge is actually supposed to be learned, rather than in an abstract situation in the classroom. You also understand about flow. Why is it gamers can go and our students can understand complicated rules, complicated logics in games, and really go all the way to the level master or whatever, level 20 or level 100, but they come into class, the very first level of understanding, they give up. It's what Csikszentmihalyi talks about flow in learning. When somebody is in flow, intrinsic motivation comes in, they will struggle through the difficulty and still learn the difficult parts. And that's what AR and VR, if we actually create authentic scenarios that are engaging, you can elicit this flow. And others, I will not belabor the point, but the issue is that we have evidence from industry and from many work done with educational institutions like 13 Factory and NTU, that people can learn faster, remember longer, and deciding better. In fact, Linda, I think, will be publishing a paper soon about that. Yes, it's going to be published in 2016 Springer. 2019, right? 2019 Springer. Okay, and she will share it with me. I'll share it with you guys again about the effect of what they have done here in NTU with regards to using VR for a history lesson. Yeah. And before I go into the practical step, just to show you one research done by Neuro Insights. This shows that what's the difference between people studying in using augmented reality and just normal way. So let's hear her.
This part of the brain is associated with visual attention. It's what's occupying our eyes in the visual field. And we measure responses in both the left brain, which is attention for detail and words, and the right brain, which is attention for more the overall feel of something, the global aspects of processing. In the case of augmented reality experiences, we see levels of visual attention that are around double the levels that we see for the equivalent experiences carried out in a more everyday normal setting. In the case of an augmented reality experience, we're seeing levels of memory encoding that are around 70% higher than the levels we see for the same sort of experience carried out without the AR component.
So from what they are saying, this is done by NeuroInsight. They use the SST brain imaging technology. They actually put these kind of things around the brain of the participants, and they measure where the brains are lighting up. On the left is the normal, and one is with the augmented reality. What the result shows is that in terms of visual attention, it's almost double. In terms of memory encoding, 70% higher. That's an amazing number, right? So this is just one of many research, obviously. Before I go on further, I know most of you would know, but I would like to say, do you know the difference between augmented and virtual reality? Most of you? Anybody do not understand the difference? Well, everybody here is good, so no need to show this video, okay? Okay. So basically, it's very simple, right? Augmented reality is when you put virtual objects into the real world. And virtual reality is when you put those same objects, but in a virtual environment. That's the only difference. When you're using Snapchat, when you're trying to beautify your face, that's augmented reality, right? When you're playing Pokemon Go, same thing, all right? And I know there's some now VR malls or VR experiences that you can experience using the headset. Those are VR. So I'll skip this video. This is a very advanced class. Let's go next. Like what I said, next. So right now I'm going into the practical part. So those are the why and the challenges and the responses that we should do. So I'm going to introduce now what Eon Reality has been doing for the past, I think, 5 years. We've created a platform because although we've been in this line for 20 years, we realized that we want to implement AR and VR. It's always been very expensive because of the big hardware. It's good and it's always good to have that because it's very immersive. But firstly, budget is very high. Secondly, it's not scalable to many students, right? Even if you look at the iCube in the IDC and all that, at any point in time, there's only 3 or 4 students can be in the same thing. How do you actually bring it into the classroom? That's why we created the platform, right? And this platform actually consists of 3 things. Next. One is the Creator AVR, which we are going to do today, the hands-on session. This is something that you can actually straight away use in class. It's as simple as using your mobile phone or tablet and being able to then get students to consume AR, VR, and 3D touch mode in the class. And also for you to create lessons. There's also a second tier called the virtual trainer, which allows up to 20 people to have a very immersive, collaborative scenario in trying to learn something and the ability to talk to an expert or a facilitator. Especially useful for technical, vocational, and also for higher education. Next, AR Assist, where you can change any space in any institution into a learning space because you can put virtual objects, artifacts, videos, images that the students can react to. One use case is that Republic Polytechnic is considering every semester for their visual merchandising course. Okay, they are actually having a big space just to set up props and all that to create a scenario. Because one of the gaps that I think we've discussed this, Peter, is it's very hard for universities and higher ed to get students to demonstrate the skills. How do you authentically assess skills? We often teach them all these complicated skills and complex concepts, but they are demonstrating it by writing on a piece of paper. And when they go into the field, they can't demonstrate, and there's a lot of retraining. So how do we do authentic assessment? Because the technology did not exist before. So with AR Assist, in that particular scenario, they can, for example, create 20 different scenarios in each semester for different students to come in and react to the scenarios. You can scale it up. You can make it as authentic as possible. You can really create interesting dilemmas or issues that they need to solve as visual merchandisers. So that's our concept of learn, train, or I would like to say in the education field, authentically assess. Of course, in the industry, it's about performance, like what we did with SBS. And altogether, it comes under this umbrella called the AVR Platform. The final ideal thing is that every single asset here can be used here, can be used here. We are already halfway there. In fact, right now, every single thing that you create on the AVR app that I'm going to show you can also be brought up to the head-mounted devices. That's the latest feature that we just got. And eventually, all this can be interlinked. So the AVR platform is what we're going to center around today. You have a CMS at the back end. I'm not going to go through the CMS today. I'm going to go through the app. But just to highlight to you that if you guys are on the platform, you guys can manage it like a normal LMS. You can also integrate it with your LMS. You have the ability, obviously, to have the usual things that you have in LMS. You can have an admin tab for managing, next. You have a people tab for managing users, next. You have a courses tab where you as educators can create new courses and create new lessons from the assets, next. This is where the assets start coming. You go into any assets of the 1,400 that we have, look at the assets, whether it's accurate, you like it, then you can straight away use that to create new lessons. Next. And of course, a banner tab as a way of making sure. So this all links to the app. Once you upload, your library in the app gets uploaded. Today, when I'm going through the Creator AVR app, you will actually have access to the public library where you guys can download. There's a limited number of assets, but you can do exactly what I did in order for you to explore. Okay, next. So this is the app. Before I start, I will actually be showing you, I like to use one app to rule them all. Because in one app, you are able to use that same asset or lesson of AR and VR into three modes. One is the 3D touch mode, which I'm going to show you, virtual reality mode, and augmented reality mode. Before I go further and let you all also play around with it, please look at the screen. I'm going through all the steps on my iPhone. And then you guys, with my facilitators around, will be able to explore in 10 minutes, again, everything that I do. Okay? So now, let me do the mirroring on my phone. And the code is 2663. Okay? So that's my phone there. And that's my cat. Very beautiful, huh? And that's my second cat. But more importantly, the Creator AVR app, when you install, it will be up on your phone. I know most of you have installed it. So I click it. I know some of you guys will follow. It's okay, no problem. Okay? So right now, what I'm seeing is the Creator AVR public library. That's what you will see. Of course, as an administrator, I can see all the different. In fact, one of the accounts there is MPS International School. It's our client now in Singapore. Raffles Institution is also our client now in Singapore. Okay? So you will have your own library. If you come on board, you can even white label. But let me now go back to the public library. You will see from the library, you will have lots of lessons already published, either by your own teachers or yourself. Here, of course, it's done by us. All right? You will have a library where you can go through the content. I will go through the navigation here before I go into the app, the content itself. You have a second tab called the assets. Here in the public library, it's about maybe 200 to 300 assets. In the total library, it's about 1,400 assets and growing. That's where you can look at the asset and preview and start creating lessons. Everything here is synced to the CMS. So teachers and educators can either create or consume here, or you can also create and consume on the desktop. The advice would always be that creating on the desktop is easier because of our very nifty fingers. But the use case would be that maybe you are traveling on the MRT, you are in the back of a Grab. You saw something interesting. You want to use that as a lesson. You can immediately take a picture and start creating it on the app. And then you go to your office, you can finish it. The consumption of the content can either be on the mobile phone or tablet in the classroom, or if you have a lot of computer-based learning labs already, you can also consume it in the desktop. That's a recent feature that was asked because many of our neighbors in the Asian countries, they have a lot of computer labs, and the penetration of smartphone is not so much. So it makes more sense for them to do it in the labs. So we are open to that. So that's the asset tab. Last but not least is the My Content tab. That's where you create new lesson. You will see here there's a lot of things that I've created on my own that is not been published yet. You create it, you can assign it to students, and you publish, it will appear in your school library. So that's the three main tabs. On the left here, you see yourself, your profile and all that. You can also see there's a Get AR marker. Later on when we are doing the demo, my facilitators will hand over for you a marker like this. Slightly smaller, but you can take that away. We'll also pass these VR glasses, but this one you cannot take away. You must return it to us. But if you're interested in getting it, you can always approach my business development guy there. Desmond, show yourself. Yeah. So if you are interested in getting this is about $10. This is much easier to use than the kind of Google Cardboard or the head-mounted. You just clip on this and it works. But the reason why I want to show this Get AR marker is that you can also just click that and you can print this. You can print this as big as possible. In a university in Malaysia, they actually print it up to A0 size. And they put it on the table. The engine is so huge. And students are walking around the engine and looking at the engine. So that's how big you can make it. You don't have to make it small like this. Okay? So that's where you get the markers. And last but not least, terms and conditions, and send us feedback. We will really encourage feedback. If you have any suggestions or any bugs that you find, please let us know. We're always continuously improving. So that's the navigation part. But now I'm going to show you the content itself and how to see the content in 3 modes. 3D touch mode, AR, and VR. Okay, let me pick and choose. Do you want to see human organ or jet engines? Oh, a lot of engineers here. Huh? Okay. Let me pick the turbofan engine. Okay. So this is a lesson created by one of my colleagues here. Where is he? Where's Ravi? He's so shy. Okay, never mind. He created this, of course, based on a certain syllabus, and he was also a former teacher. So imagine that this is a lesson that you create. Okay. And one way that you can use it actually is to basically broadcast this to the screen, and you can do a show and tell at the start of class or in the middle of class. So I click start. Here in this place, you will realize that there isn't any lesson here, or there is an intro and all that, but there's no narration. But you realize here, you can actually create activities for each of these assets. I'll show you how to create it later, but you can consume it in this way. But as a student, and you can actually then, of course, zoom in and zoom out. You can really go in all the way in to see what's inside, looking really what's that. Oh, okay. All right. I was a mechanical engineer about 20 years ago. You ask me anything about this, I forgot already. Okay, but maybe if I have this, I will remember. Huh? Okay, so this is a GTA. Not only that you can do, you can also, if there's animation created for the asset, you click this button, it also animates. The assets can also be made to animate. The other thing that you can do is to see all the different annotations. You can actually see, what each part is made of, and you can also explore to see all the different parts. You can also go in deeper to any of the parts and explore it further. Each asset can have as many as 40, 50 different subparts, and every subpart can actually contain a lesson. Okay, and of course you can also do an X-ray to look at what's inside and go back to the top. But you can also use your fingers to do a dissection. Okay, now I'm an engineer using my finger. I can just move things out. For example, you can use this as part of your introduction or in the middle to mix it with your PowerPoint. Okay, but that's only the 3D touch mode. There's a second mode now. Let me bring everything back in. And now I'm going to the augmented reality mode. So imagine this QR code right now is in the one table of 4 to 5 students. They can now view there, and the engine is now appearing on that table. You can zoom all the way in. You can go, oh, sorry, I went too deep. Huh? Okay, you can actually go all the way in. You look at it like that. My friends are disturbing me on WhatsApp. Okay, and imagine now 5 to 6 students can actually be around looking at the same content or looking at different contents. Because the trigger is the same. But you can actually get, for example, one student to look at the human heart, another to look at the liver, another to look at the spleen, and then combine it, and then get them to present as a collaborative activity. So this is how you'll be able to use the augmented reality mode in class. The third way is the VR. So before that, let me just go. I want to show something else in the AR mode actually. Let me go back to the AR mode. Okay, what I want to show you another thing in the AR mode is that you can also dissect using the AR mode. But instead of using your finger, you click this button, and then using the button on the bottom right, I can just lift things up like that. So as you can see, in all these different modes, you are able to interact. So let me now go back into the VR mode. The VR mode is especially useful when you are trying to get students in the classroom to have some kind of self-directed learning, to go deeper into a particular situation. Maybe before they collaborate or after they collaborate, go back to their own corners and start looking at this and then coming up with an assignment. Or, in the flipped classroom methodology, giving this as an assignment before they come into class. Rather than just looking at a video or a PowerPoint or a PDF, give them this and to look at home just by using this glass. A simple clip-on that you can just clip to your phone. Okay, one caveat, this thing doesn't work on the tablet. The tablet is too big, right? But on the phone it's fine. So if I'm looking through here, it's actually quite immersive. It's not two screens, it's just one screen. And I will control the interaction using the blue dot. You see the blue dot there? I just move it, stay on it for a second, few seconds, and I see the X-ray mode, right? And you guys will get to experience this later, okay? In this mode, I got an exploration mode. I can look up and down, and I can also see somebody sending me an email in virtual reality. That's the first time I saw my email in virtual reality. Luckily, it was not something, controversial. Okay, I can reverse back to go into the field. I can also go to this eye to give different perspective. It's like the eye of Sauron, Lord of the Rings. Okay, look at that. Even the mountains behind look like the Lord of the Rings. Okay, so that's how you can do it. So it definitely, in terms of VR, just by using this, you can get a degree of immersion. Of course, it's not as 100% as the iCube or whatever, but to be able to do this in class, it's amazing. And the next one, you'll be also amazed. In the next version in May, you'll be able also to bring in 360 degrees photo and video into the app. So those videos that you saw on Google, on YouTube, you can bring down, or you can take yourself with the camera that Matt yesterday showed and bring it into the lesson. So it's not just our asset, you can also add those videos and photos inside the lesson itself. Okay? So let me go back to my touch mode. And let me just show a little bit. Let me go back to the PowerPoint. Can you help me? Let me close this. Just a few more slides before I get you all to explore, okay? So just now what I've shown you is that in the touch mode is where you can use it in the show and tell portion. You can zoom, pinch, and all that. You can have the VR mode, especially for self-directed learning. In fact, if you guys already have the Google Cardboard, you can also use that. You don't have to use our VR glasses. All right? And the third mode, of course, the augmented reality mode allows you to do collaborative learning. So I will not go to this collaborative online mode. I will show you at the end. I will invite 2 or 3 of my guys to join in collaborate, because you can also collaborate online. Remember I showed you the video just now at the start? Up to 8 students from different places, as long as they have access to the internet, can join a collaborative session and see the same AR and VR asset and collaborate. I'll do a demo at the end later. Okay, right now, let's have the Endzone Activity suggested. Next. If you have not downloaded, you can download. Next. Next. Go through this. Experience the touch mode, the AR mode, and the VR mode. Open the Creator AVR app, choose a lesson from any of the staff picks, and click on Start Lesson. Guys, please come down to the groups and help them if they are. So guys, please spend the next 10 minutes exploring the Creator AVR app. Anybody have any issue, please let my guys know. They are also going around to pass the VR glasses. You can share that. And also the AR markers, which you can take back. The VR glasses don't take back, huh? Wait, I will be...
Human heart.
See, for this heart lesson, the teacher has actually used a text-to-speech. So there's narration. You guys can actually use your own voice to speak. Okay? In fact, right now for the text-to-speech, there's 27 different languages that you can translate into. Even Chinese. Okay? Chinese, Japanese, and so on. So you can just type the text and then it will narrate. You don't even have to use your own voice.
Okay, so I'll be AR mode. That's fine for me. Okay.
But
I get this anyways. Okay, thank you.
Okay, guys. All right, everybody. Just need to stop you for a while. We need to go into the creation mode. Of course, like I said, you can actually this is already downloaded on your app. You have the access to the library. You can try it at home also. Okay? So right now, can I have everybody's attention first? No. But that's what you want in the class, right? To get people excited and buzz. If adults like you get excited, maybe the kids will get excited too, huh? Okay, yes. Oh, and also another thing, if you guys are holding on to the VR glasses, do share with others because we don't have enough glasses for everybody. So please pass to somebody so they get to experience, okay? Thank you. Okay, what you guys have experienced, guys, is actually in terms of the consumption of the content in the 3 modes. I'm going now to show you how you can actually create using these assets. Can I have everybody's attention? Guys, thank you. Thank you, thank you. Okay, everybody's okay? All right. So what I'm going to show you next is how to create on the app. You have learned a little bit about how to consume, but let's see how you can create, okay? So the workflow in the first place is this. You go to My Content, create course, because the course is a container, and then you create the lesson inside the course. I'm going to go through all that. You select then the asset that you want to use, develop the lesson, which I'll show you, and then you assign the student. For today, of course, because you don't have the back-end CMS, you can't assign to any students lah. But even after this session, you can still use the app to create. You can do the show and tell in class. You can use the AR like I did. The only thing is you can't assign to students. But I know of a university again in Southeast Asia that actually after the session like this, he went back and trained 20 of his lecturers just using the free app. And they are already using it to teach. A simple thing like that is already changing the way they learn, using the free app. You don't even need to assign to the student, just in the lecture theater itself by using this. So I'm going to now go through the steps, okay, of the creation, and you guys can see it. Again, I'll give you time to actually create later. So right now, I'm in the app again. So where do I create? My Content. Click on My Content. Again, what I do here can also be done on desktop. You look at this, there's actually a plus button at the bottom. I click plus, I can now name my course. So I'll name this course, yes? Huh? Oh. The only thing is that some of you may not see the plus, you know why? Because you have downloaded it, but you know there's a top button to say register. You have not registered. You need to create an account, a free account in order for you to create. If not, you can only consume. So that's why maybe some of you don't see the plus, but you'll see at the top there is a register button, right? Click the register button, just register with your email, and then you'll see the plus. So I'm just going to go through the step of creating the course first. NTU Submit Test Course. The level here, again, can be changed at the CMS. If you're using it for university, of course, you can say year 1, year 2, year 3. This obviously was in default. So all of you are my 12th graders. Time limit of using what? Sorry? The account expired? No, because you know why? Have you registered for the free one? Farid, there isn't a time limit on the free accounts, right? There isn't. So can you help some of them? They're saying that they actually saw the account and it's like, no, the free account there's no expiry. It's just a matter of settings maybe. Okay, don't worry about that. We can fix it up for you, okay? So I can also, of course, explain what the course is about, the learning objective, blah, blah, blah. I'm just going to do that. And then I click next. I can choose an icon for the course. If it's about anatomy, I can use the heart. I can choose the color if it's the institution colors. I can pick a category. I can even put metadata about the course that will help people when they search for the course. All right? And then you click next, and you will have your course. This is a container for your course. The next time you will see you have a plus button to create the lesson inside the course. In the desktop, you can also create a standalone lesson on your own. In the future, in the app, we will also allow a lesson to be created on its own without needing to be inside the course. But for now, you need to create the course first and then create the lessons. Okay, we've got feedback from educator. Hey, Ridwan, I want to just create a lesson on its own. So you can do that. Yeah. Oh, already can now? Oh, Farid, oh, can already. I'll show. So if you want to create a lesson on your own, you just go to the asset, is it? Okay. So right now, actually, you can create a lesson on your own. Instead of starting from my content, you click on asset. For example, I'm using this helicopter as the asset that I want. This is a new function. Create lessons straight away from the asset. So there's two ways for you to create a new lesson. Either create a course and create a lesson inside the course, or go to asset and straight away create lesson. But both ways, when you create lesson, you will need to choose an asset like I did. I choose the helicopter, and that's what you will see. You will see now there's actually looking similar to the authoring just now, the consumption, but on the right you will see something extra. You will also see this. This is the important part. Where is mine? Oh. You will also see this, guys. This recording button. This is a very important thing. Remember the video I showed you again? The lecturer was inside the room talking. You can actually do this yourself. So for example, I click the recording button. Hello class, welcome to this lesson on the UH-60 helicopter. You know Black Hawk Down? This is not it. So you can twist, you can change and twist. You can actually explode the parts. Annotation, you can say, we will first be looking at the main rotor. I can zoom to the main rotor. And then next, I will be looking at the rear, or whatever that is. Stop recording, and you straight away get a interactive lesson. Button. Hello class, welcome to this lesson on the UH-60 helicopter. You know Black Hawk Down? This is not it. So you can twist, you can change and twist. You can see that if I point to any point, there will also be a laser. I didn't point to anything just now. We will first be looking at the main rotor. So you can see within minutes you are creating a lesson. You are the expert. You can rotate it any way you want. You can speak anytime you want. You can point to anything, and that becomes a lesson. You can also change the perspective of it, not just to see it from a third party. If you click on this icon, you also see it from your view, a first-person view. Welcome to this lesson on. So that's how easy it is to create AR and VR lesson, just by using the asset. Of course, on the right, you have other things. You look at the top here, there's an icon of a person and also a play button. The icon of the person actually allows you to just use your audio record, your voice to introduce the class. The on-screen recording is a newer and more powerful function. But in the desktop, when you click on that, you can also just type in the text, and there will be a text-to-speech. In how many languages now? 27, 24? I think 27, if I'm not wrong, because we're using the Amazon text-to-speech engine. As they have more, we will have more. We have, I think, simplified Chinese right now, Japanese also. So there's a lot of language. So you don't even have to say you are so shy, like me. You can just type, and then it will read out for you. Okay? The other thing that you can do at the top here, if you realize, there's also a play button. That play button allows you to add in any YouTube videos inside the lesson. Just type in the URL link, it will play the video. So the students can also see the video alongside your lesson. Other things that you can do, guys, if you look at plus, you will see there's about 5 different types of activity that you can do. And each of, for example, just now on the helicopter, if I explode it, there's many parts, right? Each of these parts can have a lesson with all these 5 different types. You can do a build function, which means that you get them to build it will snap the things. You can actually locate. You can actually, for example, if right now I'll say I want to locate. What do I want to locate? I want to actually locate a certain part. I need to double click. I say I want to locate the fuselage. I click done, and it becomes a activity where they will be asked to locate the fuselage. This will be a very easy one. The fuselage is the biggest thing there. But you can also add an element of game by clicking on the clock and adding a time. Yeah, so they get excited about the gamification part. You can even make it as low as, if you really want to be sadistic, you can really make it just 10 seconds or whatever, for example. All right? And of course, there's other you can do an identify. So identify is that when I click identify, I will say, okay, I don't want to identify that. Let me change something else. Let's see if I can click something inside. I need to put something inside. Okay, I'm not getting my hand is not very good, but you get the idea. You can then actually, again, get them to identify, and then they need to type in. Of course, for typing in, I would recommend using for higher ed and for vocational, not for the small kids, because they don't take care of case spelling mistakes and all that. The last but not least, of course, you can also, of course, do a quiz. Right now, it's a multiple answer MCQ. We are going to create more things in order for you to do. In any of these assets under the memo, any parts, you can actually change the parts. You can, for example, tap this fuselage. I want to change it to another name, or change it to your language, right? And for example, if I touch this guy here, and I say that I want to actually do a, let me go to the plus here. I can also add more things to that. And right now you see there's another layer of activity that you can add to that subpart. So one lesson can be extremely long, but I would not recommend it. Try to put it like less than 10 minutes of doing. Don't increase too much. If you want to use another part, create another lesson within a course. Okay, research has shown that if you try to do it more than like 5 to 10 minutes of e-learning, even people will get bored. Okay, so that's how easily that you can create. You just click save here. It saves and it will sync back to the CMS. And you will now actually have your lesson to preview. You're not publishing it yet. Anytime you want to edit, you can click this button to edit the lesson. You can also click on this plus to actually edit the overview and the objectives and so on and so forth. And if you look back, you will realize now, if you go into my content, my creations, my NTU Summit or the UH-60 helicopter course, a lesson is already there. It's already in your own archive. You're not publishing it yet. You need to publish before it's seen by the people in your library. But of course, you now are using the public library. You can't publish, but you can show it in class. So whatever I did there, you can do it. There's no limitation of the account, of the expiry, or the functionality. The only thing is you are limited by the number of assets, and you can't assign it to students, which you can do if you are on our platform. Okay? So with that, maybe you guys can start playing around with lesson creation. Guys, please help them if they are creating lessons. If you need any help, please go in. Just like I said, you can either start from my content or from asset. You can choose any of the assets there to start creating your lessons, okay? As you can see, that right now there's a few different hundreds of lessons, hundred of assets. Oh. Sure. Don't worry if I'm going too fast, guys. Don't worry. You can now have the time to really explore it, learn all the steps, and my facilitators will be around to help you. Something can help, Matt? Yeah, we said. No. So just to repeat again that in order for you to create, you need to register. At the top of your app, there is a register button. Click register, put in your email, put in your account, your password, and then you can create. If you don't register, you cannot create. Anybody have any problem registering? Yes. Sure, go ahead. Yeah. Okay, so somebody was asking about importing assets of your own. If you are on the account on the platform, you can do that. There is a function to upload in a, how many different formats is there, Farid? For the platform, how many types of format can we upload into the platform? Yeah. FBX and OBJ. Okay. For right now, the current version in the CMS, you can upload an FBX or OBJ 3D object. In 2 months' time, we are using an SAP conversion tool. You'll be able to upload about 70 different formats. That's one way. Another way, of course, as you know, when you are uploading directly, there may be some issue with the texture and all that. Another way you can do is, you know 3ds Max? You can actually bring the object into 3ds Max. There's a free Raptor plugin. Use the plugin, convert it, 100% it will work. So that's the second method. Okay? Yeah. So you guys are not limited to the assets already there. You guys can actually also bring assets in if you're on the platform. In fact, in the internet, there's also free websites that give free assets, like Turbo Squid. You can, for example, you like the heart, but you wanted a spleen, but we don't have the spleen asset. There's 3 things. You can also ask us. We may have something that we just never bring in yet, or you can find it on the internet. Okay? Okay, guys, I have a few questions that I want to address. Some people were asking. So the first question, again, I repeat, you need to register in order to create lesson. If you don't register, there's no way you can see the plus sign, okay? You need to register for the free one. This free account, there's no expiry. You can do everything that I did there. The only limitation is you will only see about 200 to 300 plus assets. You won't see our whole asset. And the third thing is you can't assign to students, but you can use whatever I did there just now. That's the first question. The second question is that there is a difference between the app and the platform. The platform and the app syncs together. But that one is only if you sign up with our platform, you get the back end. If it's the free one, you only see the app. So you can't create on the desktop with this free one. But you can always talk to my colleague Desmond or whoever if you are interested in that. Third thing is that we also have this thing called the classroom kit. The classroom kit is actually a box that we created containing 50 VR glasses, containing 50 AR markers, and containing some information which you can take away to your classes. And it's for about 1,000 Singapore dollars. It's a starter kit for you to be able to start using it in the classroom. Again, if you are interested, I heard some people are asking about it. If you are interested, please approach me or Desmond. At the corner, Desmond, raise your hand. He will have information about the classroom kit that you can straight away take away and use it in your class. Okay, it's just a nice starter kit. Did I address all the questions? Okay, last but not least is, as you know, Android, there's so many, the OS, there's so many devices, right? Some are better, some are others. In iOS, any iPhone with the latest OS will work 100%. For Android, because it's an open system, as you know, so we found, for example, 2 bugs just now with a Samsung J7, I think. When they go into the VR, it hangs. I will always encourage you to send us the feedback, but we have a list of recommended devices for Android, and we can give you that list. For iOS, but it's not about whether it's expensive or not. Even Huawei works with our phone. So sometimes it's just a matter, sometimes it's because of the Android, as you know, there's too many variations. We cannot cater to every single Android phone, right? But we have a list of recommended and tested devices that works. More than 15 devices work. For iPhone, 100% it will work. Okay? I hope I addressed all the queries. Any other big queries before I move on to the last part? I know you guys can still explore. You have our emails, you have my email. And last but not least, just to let you know, at the end, I'll show you a link where it will bring you to about 22 different micro lessons on how you want to use the Creator AVR. So even if today you can't follow me, maybe a bit too fast, I get excited sometimes when I train, you can just follow the lesson. It's about 2 minutes long each. It goes to every single thing that I said just now in easy to use format. So I'll give you that link. You can definitely use that as a recap and you can learn, okay? So don't worry. Okay. Yes? Yes. No. The good thing, of course, the good thing that Linda brought out is that all this content is on the cloud, on Amazon. Okay, whatever that you sign on or whether you use the free one, your account is actually saved in the cloud. So there's no need for you to install hardware or services in your school or institution. Okay? All right? Sorry again? Oh, no, it's not finished yet. My friend is so eager to have the survey. Okay? So this ends a little bit about the hands-on part. I'm going to just go through a little bit about the pedagogy and how you can introduce this into your class. And we end with a conclusion, okay? Thank you. Go to the PowerPoint. Yeah. So, okay. So just to repeat again, there's two ways for you to create, either by going through the course, or the second way, via the assets, to create standalone lesson, okay? These are all the different parts. Okay, this is the link that I would like you to take for the tutorials. You can either scan the QR code or just type this link. There's 4 series of tutorials. From what I teach you today, you can just focus on Series 1 and Series 2. Series 1 and Series 2, there's about 12 micro lessons. With that, you'll be able to do everything that I did. Okay, no worries. So you can save, maybe take a picture of the link, then you can actually then do it later. Accessible everywhere, okay? There's also a Series 3 and Series 4, but that's more towards the platform side. In the future, we'll be also creating like a blended learning course, like Coursera or Khan Academy, where we'll put it inside an easier course. Especially when we are training nationwide rollout and all that, we'll be using that as a way to scale up the training, together with the face-to-face. Everybody got the picture of the link? All right, so don't worry, any doubts or whatever, go to the lesson. Of course, you have our emails. You can always email us, okay? Okay, I let a few more minutes for you guys to take a picture. You don't have to scan it now. You can just take a picture and you can do it later. Desmond, you'll be a very popular guy. Some people are asking about the classroom kit already. Why are you so shy at the back, bro? Come in front, lah. Okay, let's move on. So this last half an hour before we go for our Friday weekend, not yet, for us we still have to work in the afternoon. But it's, can you go next? It's just introducing some simple pedagogical models. There's many others. But this is just one particular way that you can use the Creator AVR in your classroom. Okay, next. Actually, I want you guys to do some kind of activity. Are you still up for some discussion, or you want to chill and rest now? Chill? Chill, okay, I know it's Friday, so I don't want to be there. That's also very important as educators. Don't just try to finish what we want to cover. We must also see how the condition is, right? So I know it's a bit, there's a lot of things to, let's chill. Okay, so I will, instead of getting you to discuss, just to let you know that when you are trying to get Creator AVR into the classroom, it's not just in the in-classroom activity. You can also do it as a pre-classroom and post-classroom activity. Don't just be limited about what you can do in the class. You can do it as a flipped classroom methodology beforehand, and also as a post kind of assignment, okay? And of course, you guys know about the flipped classroom methodology, but I think the biggest thing that you can do with Creator AVR is that this first exposure in the flipped classroom methodology, you don't have to rely just on videos or readings anymore. You can actually give them these assets and VR assets for them to discover using the VR glasses or even the augmented reality, and get them to maybe look at a certain asset, get them to critique on the advantages or disadvantages, and then come back to class, you collaborate in an activity. That's how you can do it. You can actually enliven the blended learning part through this. Second, of course, in terms of collaborative learning, like I mentioned just now, in the classroom itself, get students to work on collaborative assignments together. When you're trying to use technology like AR and VR, you need to think about how you want to integrate it within your lesson plan. Don't just think of it as an isolated thing that you use. It's not going to work. No matter whether it's AR or VR, whether it's a learner response system, whether it's whatever tool that we are using. You need to think about the learning design. That is key. In my 20 years of doing this, that is always key. If you don't focus on the learning design, it will not work, no matter what technology you use. Because if you don't do that, the technology will not go beyond the wow factor. It will interest people at the start. After that, nothing is learned. Right? And we have done many studies about this. In NTU, when I was here, we did many research on this. You will give the same kind of activity, you give them the same kind of tools, but why is it one faculty has bigger outcomes, better outcomes, retention and engagement, but why is it the other one actually got worse? And we saw that, again, like I said, bad pedagogy is amplified by technology. I will repeat that, it gets amplified. If you don't show, for example, a connection between what they're doing at home with the AR, VR, and you don't link it in the classroom activity, students will figure out you are just doing it for the sake of doing it. There's no need for them to invest the time to actually try to do it because it's not going to matter in class anyway. Nobody is asking me anything, right? But when you do that kind of, that's why the EduCourse paper that I would recommend you to read, there's 5 papers that they wrote on AR and VR in education. Just Google EduCourse, AR and VR. There's one conclusion that they made, again, like I said, the pre and post immersive learning activity is more important than the activity itself. Okay? So I've mentioned this part. Next. So I'm going to show you an example of a lesson template that we did to show one possible way that Creator AVR can be used. This, in this case, is using an inquiry-based learning approach on the topic of how can we improve turbofan engine efficiency. It's an infused lesson rather than just putting it as an add-on. Next. Okay, this is the normal target audience, first-year engineering students. And the objective is for them to identify and discuss the makeup of the airplane turbofan engine efficiency and so on. Next. So this is the kind of detailed lesson plan that you need to think about to do. You cannot just, oh, I'm using AR and VR, woohoo, everything works. It's not going to do, it's not going to be like that, guys. So for example, at the start of the seminar, students will be given the seminar's inquiry question for the session. And we can use, for example, an LMS, and then using the show and tell, show the engine at the start. Next. And then, for example, get students to form group and collaboratively, using the AR mode, get them to help and facilitate their discussion using the collaborative mode. That's how you encourage them to collaborate. Next. So this is the example of that lesson. Next. The more important thing, right, when they are doing their research and all that, you see that Creator AVR is not used everywhere. Huh? There are tools that already exist that is better at doing those other things. Don't use Creator AVR everywhere. It's not going to work, right? For example, like Google Scholar, the University Journal Library, use that to get them to do self-direct research. Next. And more importantly, you see at the end here, you can actually get the student to present their finding by creating the presentation using Creator AVR. See, Creator AVR in the platform, you can actually allow access for the student to create and not just be consumers of content. Remember I talked about Generation Z and Alpha, they want to be co-collaborators and co-creators. When you use tools like this, when there's opportunity for them to create, allow it to happen. So instead of doing normal PowerPoints that they are obviously a master of, try to get them to create in AR and VR. In fact, Raffles Institution, as you know, is the best school in Singapore, right? It's not because I was from there. But see, the key about Raffles, they wanted not just to consume it, they already signed on board. They want students to create. They are even asking us, Ridwan, what if I want my student to create new assets? So they're even going to that. I also encourage you, I think somebody from LTA was also asking, we can, of course, create the assets for you, new assets on top of those assets. But it's also important to make it sustainable. So we also have curriculum to teach your champions to create new assets. That will be more sustainable because there'll always be update to the content, right? There's update to the scenario. If you guys have the expertise to create, that will be better, right? And in RI, they want the students to not just create lessons, but create new assets and scenario for their project group. They have this thing called the Community Engagement Program, where they try to find problems around the community. And right now, they are just using PowerPoints and videos to present. They're not creating in AR and VR. They want their students now to create in AR and VR. So you see, even the normal schools and K-12 are looking at it. What more universities? We need to allow it. In NTU, with the IDC, that's an opportune way for NTU to get students to create. In fact, we have a lot of discussion yesterday that some of the, maybe the medical schools is wanting to collaborate with a Malaysian medical to try to create new anatomy for the Creator AVR. And that's what the IDC is for us to do this kind of curriculum training, not just this kind of introduction session, but the ability to create new assets. So that's what I mean, that you need to actually hold it together in a inquiry-based learning. We have right now about 6 different lesson templates, but we'll create more. And we'll try to also focus on the threshold concepts that we talked about with Peter, to focus on those difficult things that always exist in higher education and try to bring it into the different pedagogical approaches. And this will also be relevant for any training in the industry too. So this is just a sample of how's that going to happen. They can use the screen recording function to document and record their presentation, like what I did just now. Okay? Oh, actually, I went too fast. Huh? Okay, so in essence, that's basically what I want to show you. Before I show you the final conclusion, I really like you to help us to know how we can improve better and what we did right by doing a survey, either by using it on your phone, or my co-facilitators can also hand you a paper if you prefer that technology. Okay, either you can write it on the paper or you can respond here. Paper and pen is still a technology. Huh? It was the most successful technology before. But let my guys know if you prefer to do it on the paper or here, okay? Be kind, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Collect back the VR glasses.
Okay. At the same time, the facilitators, can you collect back the VR glasses as you are handing the survey? Thank you. Go around to take the glasses. Online or paper? Your choice. Jonathan. I'm just kidding. Tavi, thanks for the water. I didn't know I got water. Like I mentioned before, this is a truncated version of our normal workshop. So usually when we do a level 1 certification, it's about 4 hours to 5 hours, where we even have rubrics to certify you guys in the ability to create. Yeah. If you are also interested in knowing about that, you can also approach us. Okay, sorry? Yes? I think more or less people have done their survey, right? Okay. Thank you for that, guys. So some key takeaways before we close the session. Student, classroom, and the world have changed. You guys know this. It's not that the learner's profile have changed. The classroom environment, learning environment have also changed. And the world that we are preparing them for has also changed. We live and interact in a 3D world, right? So the Creator AVR, along with some other apps, will make it easy for you to learn anywhere, anytime, immersively. Before this, to get immersive and experiential learning into the classroom will be quite unwieldy and will be quite tough. Using an app like this will be quite easy. It empowers you to also create lesson anytime, anywhere. Like I said, you can even create on your phone as you are waiting in the Grab, waiting in the MRT, and in our world-class public transportation system. You can actually create. And it doesn't have to be a solo activity. You must realize that even when you are getting technology involved, don't forget about the social aspects of learning. You need to be able to do that. And with the right pedagogy, very important, your students' learning experience can be enhanced. Okay? Pedagogy is very important still. The pedagogy should drive the technology and not the other way around. Always remember that. All right? So I would like to leave you with 2 quotes from Confucius. What I hear, I forget. What I see, I may remember. But what I do, I understand. I'm sure you guys get the gist of it. But last but not least, from John C. Maxwell, which I find the most important thing, they will not care how much you know until they know how much you care. In the same instance, they will not care what tools you use until they know that you actually care for them. That is still the biggest advice that I'll give any educators. Because students will see through us. And we actually show the passion and care and the truth, they will respond to you with that. Rapport is still the single biggest factor. Okay? With that, thank you very much. And like I said, there's the tutorial there. And I hope you guys have a nice weekend. Thank you. Thank you.